Okay, in this video I'd like to do a quick walkthrough of the tables that I've set up. So I've just set up three simple tables: customer, hotel and stays. Okay, so stays are each customer's stay in a particular hotel. Okay, so just three simple tables. I'll walk through those and then we'll look at creating a simple data entry form, okay, for probably the customer table, I think we'll do. And I'll talk a little bit about labels and text boxes, and then we'll look at the navigation that's provided by default with a form, and we'll look at overriding that by providing nicer navigation features. And we'll even look at providing a delete button and a close form button. So this is all just to do with the form basics, creating a basic form. Okay, so let's have a look at the relationships between our tables. I've got a customer table which has got a customer ID, a name, address, a phone number. There's a lot more we could add, but I'm just trying to keep it simple. We've got a hotel table which has got a hotel ID, a name, address, a website, a phone number, email, various other things we could add as well. And in the middle here I've got a stays table. So this is each customer's stay at a particular hotel on a particular occasion. So it's got the customer ID, the hotel ID that they stayed at, the check-in date, the number of nights they stayed, and the price per night that they paid. Okay, so that's all reasonable sort of stuff. We can add a lot more as well, but that's just keeping it simple. Just three simple tables so that each customer will have many stays, 0, 1 or many stays, and each hotel will be stayed at or involved with 0, 1 or many stays as well. So there's sort of a many-to-many relationship between customer and hotel, and stays is the entity that's taking care of that relationship to keep track of each customer's stay at a particular hotel. So the data's pretty simple. Okay, so on the Create tab, there's a blank form. There's a whole lot of things we can create. You can use the form designer if you like, or the blank form. I'm just going to go for a blank form at this stage. Okay, I tend to like starting from scratch each time. The GUI form designers and things, I like getting in and doing things directly, but everybody's different. So if you find one of these other tools better for you, use that one. But I want to use the blank form. Okay, and the property sheet here. So we want to right-click on the form on the tab there and go Design View. Okay, and this is a form designer. So inside here we could, for example, drag a label, click a label and drag it, and we could create a label. Okay, and a text box. Okay. A text box is something that can display data and also get user input. Okay, and a label is usually just for, well, it is just for display. Okay, now when you create a text box, you also get a label that comes with it. Okay, so you don't have to create a label and a text box, just create a text box and it creates both. Okay, and they're anchored together, so when I move my text box around, the label moves with it. Okay, so that's quite cool, quite useful. Okay, and you can resize things, so you can click on the anchors there and resize the boxes and make things bigger or smaller to suit your needs. Okay, and if you want to change the alignment, for example, on the label there, you can click the Home tab and then use these buttons over here for aligning right or centering and left justifying, whatever you like. Okay, I tend to like my labels right justified, so they're next to the box, text box, and my text box is left justified, so things are nice and close together. But choose your own style. Okay, so that's how labels and text boxes work. If we wanted to delete the label from a text box, if we didn't want it, we just wanted the text box on its own, we could click on the label like I've just done and go delete. Okay, Control Z undoes any changes we make, so it just reverts the changes. If we wanted to remove that label from the text box but also keep it, we could go Control X to cut it and then click away from the text box and go Control V. Okay, and that just puts a label on its own. If we want to join that label back to the text box, we could go Control X, click on the text box to make it selected, and then go Control V, and Access then joins them back together again, so they move together as one unit. Okay, that's the basics of working with labels and text boxes in Access. Okay, so it's very easy to do. You've also got a whole bunch of properties here that you can work through. For example, if you want your text box to display currency or dates, you can choose one of those here in the currency in the format section. Okay, there's a whole lot of different formats there you can choose, percentages and so on. The other thing you can do is you can right click on these, or you can right click on these and go change to, and then you can choose other controls as well. For example, you could change, I've just right clicked on the text box, you could change your text box to a list box or a combo box, or back again, or to a label. So you can change all these things between each other within reason, as long as it makes sense. So it wouldn't make sense to change a button to a combo box, but it would make sense to change a text box to a combo box. Okay, so the ones that are grayed out wouldn't make sense for our component that we've got selected. Okay, that's about all I need to say on labels and text boxes at this stage. Okay, so let's start with a blank form. Okay, and if you click on Add Existing Fields, you can show all tables, and then you can pick and choose the fields you want. So we're going to do a customer data entry form. So, and you might find that even when you hold down Shift, you can only select one field at a time. Let's just leave that for a second. So let's go into Design View here, Design View, and over here, if you click that square there at the top and then go Properties, you can tell Access what data source you want for the form. Okay, so in here in data source, we won't worry about what dyna set and that means. So record source, you can choose a table that's in your database. So I want to make it based on a customers table. Okay, let's go back to Add Existing Fields. And now you'll find that the Shift key works, and you can select all the fields you want or just the ones you want. Okay, so you can just skip those and then drag them to the form. Okay, I want to select all the fields. Okay, and then drag them to the form. Okay, and then you'll notice that Access very kindly creates text boxes and labels for each item. Okay, and so you'll generally want to make the labels the same size. I generally make them pretty close to the text boxes. Okay, so just resize them to suit. And then you can select all those, go back to the Home tab and go Right Justified, and then everything's, the labels and the text boxes are right next to each other, which is what I like. If you don't like it, then you could use your own style. Okay, so now let's go into Form View and see how that looks. So Form View. Okay, so you'll see down here there's a little navigator, and it's showing record 1 of 4. Okay, so we can step through the records, step from record 2, record 3, record 4. Okay, so we can use those to step through the records. We can use that one to go to the last record, or this one here to go to the first record. Okay, so we can step through all the forms, all the records there, and if we go past the last one, then we're into the new, creating a new record. Okay, so in here I could create a new name, and Fred's address is East Street, and that'll do. We don't want to enter anymore. It's just a record. Okay, so that's so if we go right to the end now, Fred will be the last record. Okay, and I've got my table set up so that the ID in the customer table, the ID is an auto increment number. Okay, and that's pretty well what Access does by default. It's very helpful. It likes to guess what you want to do, and it gets it right most of the time. Okay, so that field there I can't type into. Okay, it's an auto increment, auto generated by the system number. Okay, but these here I can change. Okay, so I can type in whatever I want to the other fields. Some other things we can do. So this here over on the left hand side is a record selector. So if I click that, I can go delete. I can click the delete key, and Access will ask us whether we want to delete that record we're just looking at before. If I go no, Fred's returned. If I click on there and go delete and go yes, then Fred's gone. Okay, so we're back down to 4 records really in our database. Samuel's the last one. If we click last, Samuel's last. So Fred's gone. Okay, so that's a little bit on navigating with the built-in navigator in Access, and a little bit on creating forms in Access. Okay, so how do we control the navigator and the record selector? How do we control those areas in our forms? Let's go back to Design View. Okay, and we'll go to the Property Sheet and Format. And if we click on that little box there just below the form name, okay, we'll see the selection type is form. So we've selected the form. If we click down here, the selection type changes to section. So we've selected a section of a form. So when we want to make any changes to the navigation, or how the navigation works, we need to make sure we've got the form selected. So we click on that little box there. Okay, and you'll see the black square appear. Okay, so down here, there's record selectors and navigation buttons, and now both of those are set to yes by default. So if we set those to no, record selector, that gets rid of that vertical bar that's on the left, and if we turn off the navigation buttons down here, change that to no, that turns off the navigation down the bottom. So let's now view the form, back in form view. Okay, and you'll see our navigation is gone, and our record selector is gone. Okay, so in most applications that are built without Access, you won't see the custom, the built-in navigation. You'll see someone provide nice little buttons to do the navigation. So something a little bit bigger and a little bit more obvious than those little navigator buttons down the bottom. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's do it. We're going to create some buttons now. Back to Design View. Okay, so on the Create tab, okay, there's a whole bunch of things we can create. In fact, on the Design tab, okay, and one of them is a button. Okay, so let's click on the button and drag it and highlight it, and Access will pop up a little wizard to help us. Okay, now with a lot of things we do, especially in the early days when we're creating Access applications, Access actually has a pretty good stab at providing the functionality for us through this wizard. Okay, so we don't have to actually write any code, and luckily for us, the record navigation is the first thing selected. So if we want that button there to be go to the last record or go to the first record, we can just select that. Okay, click Next, and we'll have a picture. We could have picture and text or whatever. We'll just have picture. Click Next, and what do you want to call the button? We'll just stick with the basic button. Oh, actually, now we'll rename it. What do you want to call the button? Command First Record. Okay, we'll give it a name. Finish, and you'll see that Access has actually given us a nice little picture and a button. Resize the button to make the picture fit nicely, and it's named the button. If we have a look at the name here on the other tab, there's the name. So the name of the button is Command First Record. We don't need to worry about the name too much at this stage because we're not actually going to use that name inside our program, inside a program code. We're just keeping things nice and simple. Let's create some more buttons. Okay, click on button, and we'll make this one go to the previous record. Previous record, and finish. That'll do. Okay, a little bit out of alignment with the other one, so we'll just move it a little bit. We can use the arrow keys to move things, so I'll just use the up arrow there. Let's create another button, and this one's going to move to the next record, and finish. Okay, and again we're a little bit out of alignment, so we'll just use the arrow keys to move things finally. And one more button, and this one's going to move to the last record. Okay, just fix up the alignment. So now what happens when we run our form? We'll see that those buttons are active and working. So we can use this to step through our records. Our next button, next record, previous record, previous record. Our last record is Samuel, and our first record is Mike. Okay, so we've built a nice little form there without writing any code, just by using the built-in functionality in Access. Okay, so it's very powerful. Okay, so what can we do to improve that even further? Well, what if we wanted to delete a record? Let's add a delete button. And what if we wanted to have it so that we could click a close button to close the form, so we don't have to go up here and right click and go close. Okay, so we'll save it, and I'll give it a name, and I'll call it customer data entry. Okay, and that will create a new section over here on the right for forms, and there it is, a customer data entry form. Okay, I'll just move that back so we've got enough space in our form window here. Okay, so let's look at adding a delete button and a close button, and we'll also add a nice title at the top here just to tell the user what form they're using. Okay, we'll say customer data entry form. Okay, so let's go back to the design view. Okay, so we want a couple more buttons. And these aren't navigation buttons, these are more to do with, well, more advanced functionality, deleting a record. Okay, so let's do that. And where will we find delete a record here? Can Access help us? Maybe in record operations. And there we go, delete a record. Okay, next, we'll just use the picture again, finish. Okay, so let's delete a record there. and let's add another button for closing the form. Okay, so record operations, no, there's no close the form there. Form operations, close the form. There we go. Next, and finish. Okay, so that's the close the form button. We'll just leave those down there for now. You can position them where you like. And the last thing we want to add is a nice form title. So we'll click up there and click on our form, and we'll go customer data entry form. Okay, customer data entry form. We might want to have a bigger font, so let's go over here to our properties, our form, on our format tab, and down here you'll see the font size. Okay, we'll change that to 16, and you can change the font name to something else if you want to as well. And you've got all sorts of effects and things you can apply: underline, bold, italic. There's lots of things you can do. Colours, various colours, background colours, foreground colours. There's all sorts of things you can do. I'll just leave it the normal default colours for now, and I'll just resize that to match. Okay, so customer data entry form. So now we've got our navigation buttons, and we've got our delete record and our exit, our close the form button. Let's go to form view. Okay, and you'll see that we can move through our records. We can delete. Okay, now we're deleting a record, and this record has got a relationship to the stays. So this customer has some stays recorded, and I've actually turned on referential integrity on the relationship. So Access is just warning us here that if we delete this customer, we're also going to delete their stays. Okay, so maybe we don't want to do that at this stage. If you want to delete the customer, yes, and that would also delete their stays. Okay, so I'll click no at this stage. Okay, and then if we want to click the close form, we can do that as well. And it's going to say if we want to save any changes. I've made some changes to the form, I've added labels and so on, and I'll click yes to save. Okay, so I was just talking about the referential integrity. That sounds like it's complicated to set up, but it's actually very easy. So let's go to our database tools, relationships. Okay, and you'll see here I've got for each customer, for each stay in the stays table, there's a customer that's relating to a customer. So the stay is for a customer, and also the stay is for a hotel. So there's the relationships here. Each hotel has 0, 1 or many stays. That's what that little symbol is there. It means many, so 0, 1 or many, and each customer has 0, 1 or many stays. Okay, so how do I set that up? Let's delete that little relationship, and okay, we want to delete it. Yes, let's do it. And I'll show you how to set those up. So you just click on the field you want to relate from and to, and just drag it in there onto the stays table. And Access realizes that we're linking up customer IDs, and we want to enforce referential integrity. That's a good thing to do, so that if a customer is deleted, all their stays are deleted as well. If you don't want that to happen, don't enforce referential integrity. So if you delete a customer, their stays will still be there, because maybe you want to keep the history. Okay, but for my needs here, I'm just going to enforce referential integrity, and also you can click these as well. So if you cascade update and cascade delete is all to do with if the customer's deleted and you try and delete, then all their stays will be deleted as well. Okay, and if you delete a stay, that doesn't affect customers, because the customer doesn't need to have any stays. Okay, the stay belongs to a customer, not the customer to a stay. Okay, and same for updates. If we updated something to do with a customer in the stays table, that would ripple through, or vice versa. Okay, so you can click those as well if you like. They don't hurt. But if you want to keep a history of stays, if you delete a customer, leave the stays there, then maybe you want to not turn that on. Depends on what you need. Okay, I'm going to turn that on. Click both of those and go create, and you'll see that puts a relationship in there. Okay, so it's a very useful little diagram. That's like an entity relationship diagram. Okay, and Access does it so easy for you. Makes it so easy to do. Hope that was useful.